We're going to talk about President Trump and a new wave of tariffs that he announced on Thursday, including a 100% levy on branded drug imports into the United States.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time.
President Trump's sweeping global tariffs for more than 90 countries have come into effect. Minutes before, he took to social media saying it's midnight, billions of dollars in tariffs.
It's quite difficult to determine exactly how many times President Trump has imposed tariffs since February 2025 on different countries and their products. Some sources suggest the number could be as high as 42 times, including recent changes made by Trump, and many countries view this as a positive sign and a win for their economies. Since the administration is operating as it pleases to achieve its objectives under the banner of Making America Great Again, other world leaders have little choice but to remain silent and adapt to these tariffs. But who is going to pay these tariffs? Will this really make America great again, or will the entire world go through the greatest recession we have ever seen? It all starts with how tariffs came about and what the motive was. Let me take you back to 1789, just weeks after George Washington became the first president. The brand new United States was drowning in debt from the Revolutionary War, with no reliable way to fund the government. That's when Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of the Treasury, came up with a brilliant yet controversial solution: the Tariff Act of 1789. Hamilton wasn't just throwing darts at a board. He had three specific motives. First, to generate desperately needed revenue for the federal government. Remember, there was no income tax back then. Second, protect America's infant industries from being crushed by established European manufacturers who could sell goods cheaper. And third, reduce America's dependence on foreign imports. The very first tariff was modest, averaging around 8.5% on imported goods. But here's what's fascinating. Hamilton borrowed this idea from European mercantilism, where countries like Britain and France had been using trade barriers for centuries to protect their own economies and weaken rivals. But Hamilton took it further. He believed that for America to become truly independent, it needed to build its own manufacturing base. Foreign goods flooding the market would kill American industry before it even had a chance to grow. The concept worked so well that by 1816, Congress passed the first protective tariff, specifically designed to shield American manufacturers from British competition after the War of 1812. What started as a desperate revenue grab in 1789 evolved into one of the most powerful economic weapons a country could wield. And now, over 230 years later, we're watching that same weapon being deployed 42 times in just a few months. But here's what's really driving Trump to this extreme tariff strategy. America is facing what his administration calls a national emergency. Let me paint you the picture of America's economic crisis that pushed Trump to declare tariffs as a matter of national security. The U.S. goods and services deficit hit $71.5 billion in May 2025, jumping from $60.3 billion in April, and reached a staggering $140.5 billion in March. We're talking about America spending $140 billion more on foreign goods than we're selling abroad every single month. But it gets deeper than just numbers. According to Trump's own emergency declaration, these large and persistent annual U.S. goods trade deficits have led to the hollowing out of our manufacturing base, resulted in a lack of incentive to increase advanced domestic manufacturing capacity, undermined critical supply chains, and rendered our defense industrial base dependent on foreign adversaries. Here's the scary reality. America has become dangerously dependent on countries that might not have our best interests at heart. China's control over critical supply chains continues to deepen, while America's influence is steadily diminishing. We're talking about everything from semiconductors to rare earth minerals, the building blocks of modern technology and defense systems. The manufacturing crisis is real. The US has had a declining manufacturing employment share since the 1950s, well before it was significantly exposed to foreign trade. But the dependency has accelerated dramatically. When COVID hit, we couldn't even make our own medical masks and ventilators because we'd outsourced everything to China. So Trump's theory is this: use tariffs to make foreign goods expensive enough that companies will bring manufacturing back to America. Force other countries to play fair by making them match our tariff rates. That's his reciprocal tariff strategy. On April 2nd, 2025, which Trump called Liberation Day, he signed an executive order declaring the trade deficit a national security threat. But wait, here's where the plot thickens and gets absolutely ridiculous. While Trump is busy slapping tariffs left and right to save America, there's an elephant in the room that's about to crush the entire party: America's catastrophic debt crisis. The U.S. national debt currently stands at $108,551 per person. That's $279,319 per household. Let that sink in for a moment. Your family of 4 is on the hook for over $1 million before you've even bought groceries. The US has the highest national debt in the world, with a quarter of it owned by other countries, including China, the very country we're trying to punish with tariffs. The irony is absolutely delicious. At the current rate of growth, the US will hit $37 trillion by approximately August 17th, 2025, and every additional trillion takes just 173 days. We're adding $1 trillion to our debt every 6 months, and Trump thinks tariffs are going to fix this? That's like trying to fill the Grand Canyon with a teaspoon. How did we get here? It's a beautiful bipartisan disaster decades in the making. The primary drivers include stagnant tax revenues, decreased corporate tax revenue due to the GOP tax cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, bipartisan budget agreements, and higher government spending. Both parties have been spending like drunken sailors at a casino, and now the bill is due. Projections show deficits will average 6.3% of GDP over the next 30 years, causing debt to reach 156% of GDP by 2055. For context, that's worse than Greece was during their financial meltdown. This mess is so bad that Fitch Ratings stripped the US of its pristine AAA credit rating, warning that the government needs to right its fiscal ship. Now here's where Trump's tariff strategy becomes a beautiful contradiction. While he promises these tariffs will save America, the Penn-Wharton budget model projects Trump's tariffs would reduce GDP by about 8% and wages by 7%, with a middle-income household facing a $58,000 lifetime loss. So the cure is literally worse than the disease. Despite tariff revenue jumping 112% and bringing in an extra $70 billion, the federal budget deficit has still widened by $109 billion from a year ago. We're collecting more tariff money than ever before, and we're still going deeper into debt. Tariffs will not come close to eliminating the federal budget deficit, which means they will not come close to paying down even $1 of the national debt. But let's get real about who's actually going to feel this pain. Because, spoiler alert, it's not the politicians making these decisions. Here's the brutal reality that no one wants to admit. Trump's tariffs amount to an average tax increase of nearly $1,300 per US household in 2025. That's right. While Trump campaigns on making America great again, he's literally taxing American families an extra $1,300 to pay for his trade war. Now let me break this down with the actual current tariff situation, because the details matter and they're constantly changing. As of August 2025, here's what's really happening. Trump implemented a universal 10% tariff on April 5th, 2025, under unprecedented emergency powers. Then on August 7th, 2025, he rolled out his reciprocal tariffs ranging from 10% to 41% on different countries. Canada now faces 35% tariffs, while China's tariffs peaked at a staggering 30% on some goods, which is surprisingly lower than Canada. Let's talk about your grocery bill with the current reality. That morning coffee, if it's from Brazil, you're paying 50% more. Vietnamese coffee, 20% tariff. Indonesian coffee, 19% tariff. The only coffee still duty-free is from Mexico under USMCA for now. Here's what's actually hitting your wallet right now. Under the current reciprocal tariffs that took effect August 7th, 2025, food imports are facing significant increases. Bananas, chocolate, and various seafood items are all getting more expensive. The average applied US tariff rate has gone from 2.5% in January to an estimated 18.6% as of August 2025. That's the highest level in over a century. Your electronics are definitely getting hit. Chinese goods face up to 30% tariffs on some items, with a baseline 10%. That's smartphone, laptop, or TV. The prices have already started climbing, and the food sector particularly is seeing price increases because, as economists note, the food hit hardest is mostly not grown or harvested in the US. The brutal truth remains the same. Every time you buy something affected by these tariffs, you're essentially paying a tax to the US government. Whether it's 10%, 25%, 35%, or 145%, those percentages aren't coming out of China's pocket or Mexico's budget. They're coming straight out of your paycheck, one purchase at a time. Every single time you buy something that's imported or contains imported materials, you're writing a check to the US Treasury. Trump can call it a tariff, but it's really just a hidden tax on American consumers disguised as economic patriotism. But hold on, before we write off Trump's tariff strategy as economic suicide, let's pump the brakes and examine the other side of this coin. Because while critics are screaming about grocery prices and trade wars, there's a compelling argument that these tariffs might be exactly the shock therapy America's economy desperately needs. The US trade landscape in 2025 is being reshaped by a national security imperative, accelerating a global supply chain reconfiguration that has resulted in a $1.1 trillion federal infrastructure spending spree, a 200% surge in domestic semiconductor investment, and a 40% rise in regional logistics hubs. Think about this logically. What good are cheap Chinese electronics if China controls the entire supply chain and can shut us down during the next global crisis? COVID-19 gave us a terrifying preview when America, the most powerful nation on Earth, couldn't even manufacture basic medical masks. We were literally begging other countries for ventilators while our people were dying. Trump's team argues that short-term pain from higher prices is worth it if it prevents long-term economic enslavement. As Alexander Hamilton proved in 1789, sometimes you have to protect your infant industries. And right now, America's critical manufacturing base is essentially in infancy compared to what it used to be. These aren't arbitrary tariffs thrown around like confetti. They're surgical strikes designed to force other countries to play by the same rules we've been following like suckers for decades. The reciprocal tariff concept is devastatingly simple. If China charges us 25% to import American cars, we charge them 25% to import Chinese cars. If the EU slaps a 40% tariff on American agricultural products, guess what they get back? It's economic game theory at its finest, mutual assured destruction that forces everyone to the negotiating table. Trump's reciprocal strategy is calling this bluff. Countries that have been freeloading off America's open market for decades are suddenly facing a choice: drop your barriers or watch your access to the world's largest consumer market disappear. America is experiencing a reshoring revolution, with massive investment flowing into domestic infrastructure and manufacturing capabilities. The numbers are staggering. We're not just talking about bringing back a few factories. This is a complete economic transformation. Companies are finally realizing that the race to the bottom globalization model is unsustainable when it leaves you vulnerable to supply chain warfare. When tariffs make overseas production expensive enough, companies don't just absorb the costs forever. They start looking for alternatives. And here's the kicker. Once those factories are built on American soil, those jobs aren't going anywhere. But that's not practical at all. An iPhone made in China that starts manufacturing in the US will cost us around 2.5 times the normal price we are paying today, and that's going to be outrageous. Let's talk about something the critics conveniently ignore. Tariff revenue is absolutely exploding. We're bringing in tens of billions of extra dollars that didn't exist before. However, when compared to a massive trillion-dollar debt that is growing every few months, this is merely a drop in the ocean. It has already begun to backfire on us, a topic we will discuss shortly after exploring some of the benefits. One thing for sure, when companies can't simply outsource to the lowest bidder, they're forced to innovate, automate, and find creative solutions. The semiconductor industry is the perfect example. There has been a 200% surge in domestic semiconductor investment as companies rush to build production capabilities on American soil. American companies are investing billions in robotics, AI-driven manufacturing, and advanced automation specifically because tariffs have made the old outsourcing model economically unsustainable. It will take a bit of time, but surely in the long run, we will get some benefits from this. Here's what Trump understood that his predecessors didn't. In international trade, you're either at the table or you're on the menu. According to Trump, for decades, America played the nice guy while other countries ate our lunch. This tariff strategy flipped the script entirely. Countries that used to ignore American trade complaints are suddenly sending delegations to Washington requesting for negotiations. When you control access to the world's largest consumer market, tariffs become your ultimate negotiating weapon. This resembles an open dictatorship, visible to both world leaders and the American public. The US is continuously sending donations to Israel to facilitate mass murder funded by American citizens' money, while simultaneously claiming to improve the economy by infringing on people's basic rights. Ultimately, Trump's tariff strategy isn't about the next quarter's earnings. It's about the next quarter century's economic survival. In a world where economic warfare is replacing military warfare, having a robust domestic manufacturing base isn't just nice to have. It's essential for national survival. The short-term costs are real. Nobody's denying that families are paying more for certain goods. But if these tariffs successfully rebuild American manufacturing, reduce trade deficit, and restore economic independence, future generations will look back on this period as the moment America saved itself from economic colonization. But remember we talked about the situation backfiring? Look at China. In a recent interview, a Chinese official directly said that, "We don't care. China is ready to fight to the end. The world is big enough. China has been here for 5,000 years. There was no United States back then, and we expect to survive for another 5,000 years." This statement is approximately 4 months old. Let's look at the current situation, where India just bought oil from Russia. Trump got furious and imposed a 50% tariff on them, but it seems it didn't affect them at all. They didn't even flinch. Instead, they allowed BRICS to use the rupee directly for trade. And they also said they will continue to buy oil from Russia, rejecting USA threats. America is losing two of the greatest economic powers from its grasp. They have already shown they are not afraid. Instead of helping America boost its economy, these actions are working as a great way to force them to find alternatives and not be dependent on the USA for trade. Conversely, Mexico is calling for the US to impose higher tariffs on goods from China. This would allow Mexico to increase its exports to the US, and foster a mutually beneficial trade relationship. So far, the world is facing so many changes, like TikTok trends here and there, that it's becoming too difficult to cope with all of them. Ultimately, normal citizens are suffering, and we have yet to see when a shiny economic boost will take place and when this will come with peace again.